Hey, everybody. How are you? It's good to see you all here. Sorry, my mic was muted. I'll try not to do that. But no, it's really good to see you all. We're going to have a really good show. Skip's waiting backstage for us. So we're going to get this show going on. I want to welcome all of my hold on a second. Oops. I want to I don't know why that would be echoing. I want to welcome all of my new listeners tonight. Can everybody hear me okay? Let me know if you can hear me okay. Thanks, Danger Dave. I can always count on you. Okay, so I wanted to let everyone know that there are some things that I do expect from everyone that participates in the live chat, and my wonderful moderators will help keep this under control. But I just wanted to let everyone know ahead of time. I do not allow any fighting or mistreatment of my moderators in any way, shape, or form. Please, if they instruct you to do something, please make sure that you follow their instruction, as well as do not disrespect the guest, myself, or any person in the chat. You will be warned if you do it, and then you will be banned from the channel. So I know it seems kind of like maybe harsh, but that's how I keep this community nice and where people can come and actually have intellectual discussions without craziness. So with that being said, the other thing that I would like to remind everyone is to stay on topic in the chat. We do have a guest tonight, so please try to keep on the topic of what the guest and I are discussing. And I do appreciate you all very much for being here. For those of you that may not know who Skip Jansen is, let me give you a little bit of a background about Skip. Skip and I actually met on Reddit before I ever started my Reddit sub. It was right after I started my Reddit sub, I guess. Anyway, and he was a Redditor. He was a person who was following the Delphi case and had some really good perspectives. And I kind of saw him being attacked and maligned for some of the things that he thought about the case. And I thought that was really odd. So I decided that it was time to find out who this person was that was getting a lot of this flack. And he and I started talking, and I realized that he was highly intelligent and had a really good perspective on the case. And basically the rest is history. I have been talking to him about this case ever since. And he has a passion for it, as well as I myself, and he wants to see the case solved. He has also recently made a trip to Delphi, and we had him on the show with the captain from True Crime Garage in late May, right before he left and went to Delphi on the trip. And so this is basically him returning to talk to us about some of the things that he realized while he was there. And we're going to also go over some of the current events that have been happening in the last few weeks concerning Delphi, because I know you guys all want to talk about that. And we're also going to discuss the murder sheet. So without further ado, everyone, please welcome Skip to my live stream. Okay, Skip.
Hey, Kristen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm
Can you
good.
turn your volume up a little bit or sit closer to your microphone?
What about that? Is that better?
Can you guys hear him or do you need him to be a little bit louder? Hang on just a second.
Okay.
Hey, Gonzo. Can you guys hear Skip okay? Please put a 1 in the chat if you can.
Check, check, check.
I can hear you just fine. I don't know if they can. They said they can hear you.
Good.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put my headphones on because I will hear you even better with those on. So I'm going to do that right now. So, how are you doing?
Good. Battling a little bit of a cold, but other than that,
That's
I'm really,
terrible.
yeah, kind of hanging on too. I'm ready to get rid of it.
Summer colds are the worst.
Yeah, I know it. This one has been. It's been now probably 10 days, so I'm ready for it to be gone.
Looks like Sophie wants to know if that's a Mississippi accent.
Florida Panhandle by way of Alabama. If that makes sense. Grew up in Alabama, lived in the Florida Panhandle. So close, yeah. Mississippi, same difference.
Oh, hold on a second. Hang on, guys. I'm sorry. I'm having an issue here with my microphone. So, give me a minute. I should be okay. All right. So, well, I guess we should just kind of get into it a little bit. You went to Delphi, I just told them. So,
Yep. Was there for the last weekend of May over Memorial Day weekend. Uh, Spent 3 days there actually. 2 days went out on the trails and in that area, and it was good. I enjoyed it. Had a really good time.
what was your, I guess, what was your feeling as you drove in and seeing the place for the first time?
Um, I think probably the scale of it was the first thing I noticed. Because when you haven't been somewhere and you're just envisioning it, you don't really think about the scale of it exactly, and um, just the length of the path, the trail, uh, the size of the bridge, the overall size of the area uh, was probably the first thing I noticed. It's a beautiful little town. It's and then the trail and the bridge sit out just off out of town, maybe 3/4 of a mile or something. Just one little road that leads out to it, and it's really secluded out there, and uh, it's just a really pretty area.
Yeah, that's what I've always felt about it as well.
Yeah,
Um,
I was impressed with Indiana just in general. I thought it was the whole area. I've been to Indianapolis before, but I've never been to any of the rural parts of Indiana. Um, and it was, I mean, it really was. It was great.
hey, Captain, it's good to see you. Welcome to the stream.
Pam wanted to know what was my goal. Was the goal of my trip? Um, I think just to see, but get a better idea of what we were all talking about. Again, to see things for the real size, the scale of everything. And there were just a lot of things. There were a lot of there. I was taken back by some things, and because we all have things in our mind about it. We've been following the case, and there were some things that really. I was lucky enough to have a friend come over and meet me, and she knows the area very well, and so um, we walked literally every inch of the trail area and the bridge, Monon High Bridge area, and it got to see things you just wouldn't know of unless you've been there.
Right. Hey, who's your cold case? Hi, Cryptex. Good to see you guys. Hey, Jeff. Welcome everyone that's come in for Skip tonight. We're excited to have him with us and discuss some of the stuff that he saw and felt while he was in Delphi back in May. I think it's always good to talk to people who've actually visited there or lived there because they can actually give you a perspective of what it was like and maybe what it was kind of like that day for the girls, even though Skip didn't go during the winter time. You still get a feel for that bridge, don't you?
Yeah, you do. Absolutely. Alicia just asked an interesting question. We're going to talk a lot about that, Alicia. She asked why the girls weren't, what were my feelings and why the girls weren't found the first night.
Yeah.
And I'll just be honest, before I went to Delphi, I didn't really have an opinion on it. When I discovered what I did, it changed everything for me in terms of, well, again, it's something unless you've been there and seen it, you would never even realize. You realize certain things aren't there, and particularly a path that I was shown that leads from the trail to the crimes, right where the girls were found. It's a pathway, a worn pathway. You've got pictures that we're going to show them, and we walked it, and it took us less than 10 minutes to get down to it. But I'll talk a little bit about why I don't think if the girls should have been found that night and why they weren't. But
the picture that you want me to show, do you want me to show the pictures from the Hoosier Heartland first?
No,
driving in? Do you want me to
show the first two? We can talk about the one. Show the one with the picture from the bridge where it's got the arrow pointing to the path. That one along with the picture of the path.
Okay. Just give me a minute, guys. I'm going to share my screen, okay? Oops.
And I thought I really knew pretty much everything about the case or had heard everything. And the friend of mine that came over is the girl named Julie Melvin, and she's been involved in the case for a long time, and she literally knows every inch of the place. And so
cool.
There's the picture of it's seriously about 20 to 25 feet from the bridge, from the start of the bridge, the north side of the bridge. And it's very obvious. I mean, it's something that it's not like it's kind of a out of the way path. It's really obvious that it's there. I don't know why it's a path like that. If it's a deer path or if it was, but it goes down along 3 different properties until it ends up down on Ron Logan's property where the girls were found. So. But
I just want to stop for a second and let everybody in chat know that I'm starring all of your questions, and we'll ask these questions of Skip at the end after he and I have discussed the stuff that he's talking about, rather than keep interrupting to ask the questions. I just think it'll move a little bit smoother if we do it that way. So just bear with us. I will get to your questions, I promise. Go ahead, Skip. Is there any other? You want me to show the other picture now, or?
Yeah. I know that's where it's just right. No, not that one. The one that's
no.
The darker one. No, not.
Okay, they didn't load in order. Hold on. Of course not. Just a minute, guys. Sorry.
I mean, what I was saying earlier is I thought I knew pretty much everything, but I was shocked. I was flabbergasted when I saw this. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, I think this is I'm not sure if this is the one you're talking about, but this is the one I'm going to share. So just give me a minute.
Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so this is the actual path that you're talking about. That's the 20 feet from the entrance to the bridge, right?
Yep, and it goes all the way down to where the girls were found. It took us, like I said, it took us less than 10 minutes to make the walk. There is no way the girls shouldn't have been found that night. There's no way. I mean, this would have been, look, they were dropped off at the Mears lot, right? So we know they were on the trail. This is right off of the trail. So it's literally the first place you would look. I mean,
yeah,
really,
I mean, I have, that's been, you know me. I mean, you know me, and you know that my big deal is that they were never found that first night. And I just have never understood that at all. And now when you go there and you're like, Kristen, there's no way they shouldn't have been found. That just really, I'm like, I agree with you. And that was without me even really truly being there. But what's your thought on it? I mean,
well, it's
when you were there, standing there looking at that, what was your thought?
Well, Julie said, "Hey, I want to show you something," and I said, "Okay." And we have the video, you know, we can show them. But I said, "Okay." She says, "This is a path," and I had no idea where it led to. No, it's not that one. It's the other one.
No, I know it's not this one.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, it's this one.
Yeah, and this is actually her in the video as I'm talking about it, and
so this is the path that
it's a couple of things. The path is again very obvious. It would have been one of the very first places anybody would have searched. It's not even a difficult walk. It's downhill pretty much the whole way. There's one ravine, kind of a drainage ditch that you have to hop over, but other than that, it's like I said. Yes, is that? Can you stop right there?
I am, yeah.
Because I want to talk about that. But there's, like I said, there's one area that's drainage ditch you kind of have to hop over. Other than that, I mean, I couldn't believe when we got down to where the girls are. I was like, she said, "Well, this is it." She goes, "And that right there, that double trunk tree is where they believe the girls were found, right by it." And I'm like, "You're kidding me." I mean, I couldn't believe how short of a walk it was. Also have a distance diagram that I sent you photo that shows from the bridge down to where they were found, and it's like I said, it's short. It's a short walk. I'm not, and when you're down there, I'm not suggesting they were, they weren't there taken away and brought back or any of that. I don't think that happened at all. As a matter of fact, I think the affidavit and things like that from Ron Logan's property show that they weren't probably, but there has to be a reason they weren't found. There has to be a reason someone didn't go down there to that spot because it's just too easy and it's too obvious.
Yeah, I don't, it's never made sense to me, and nobody's ever been able to explain to me why. Is this the one you're talking about where it's 179 feet?
No, that's another little path that goes off of from the 501 down to the 505. Well, we can discuss that right quick. Again, that's something you're not aware of until you're there. There's a worn path that goes down that connects those, so you wouldn't actually have to go back to the trail crossing to get down to the 505.
Okay. Yeah, you wouldn't have to go back to the trailhead, like where the V is at.
Where the 505 and the 501 come together. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because this path is much closer to the bridge, and it cuts right down to the 505. So you wouldn't have to walk all the way back to the crossing to get, to make that loop.
Right.
I don't know if there's any significance to that. Just wanted to, everybody could be aware of it.
Hey, Unsolved, thank you so much for your super sticker. I so appreciate you, my dear. Thank you. Hold on here. I'm looking for the one, I think maybe this is the one you're talking about. Is this the one?
Yeah, that shows the distance from the trail down to where the girls were found.
Okay.
Yeah. You see, it's 1,318 feet. So,
and so this is the beginning of the bridge.
Yep, that's where the beginning of the path is.
On the north side, and this is the path that you talked about and that you went on.
Correct. Yeah.
And you walked down here
mm-hmm.
and through the woods.
Yep.
To here, it's 1,318 feet, and
Correct.
This is where the girls were found.
Correct.
And as you can see, it's pretty. It's not very long, and it's a clear path. I mean, it's not like. I mean, it's a path. We talked about it. It reminds me of a deer path. Is what it reminds me of.
Neither one of us had on any kind of hiking or anything like that. So, and we made it down there in less than 10 minutes. And it was, like I said, there's one drainage ditch that you kind of have to hop over. But other than that, there was nothing to it, really.
Captain says that he agrees with you that the spot did seem rather obvious, but getting down there, at least the way he went, he felt it was pretty extreme. How did you feel?
But other than the one little hop over the ditch, it was not. It was downhill most of the way. I didn't think it was
okay.
Extreme. Like I said, we didn't have. I just had on a pair of shorts, a shirt, and some sneakers, and it's not an area where you feel like you were in danger or even to fall. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
And it's just, and again, it's just there's some other pictures in there where we show with the trail as it continues down onto that property, but some older pictures that somebody else had taken. But it really is. It's very obvious. It's just no way anybody would not go down there, because
right.
You're thinking about what, 2 little girls are missing. They were on this trail, and you see a path off of that trail. We said, well, maybe they dipped off of here,
Exactly. Why wouldn't you go down that path to follow it, to see if they were on it, fell off of it, whatever. Yeah. Right. Or, that something they hurt themselves.
Exactly. The path doesn't offer the resistance that the thicket would. So that'd be an area you would go down just for the ease of it.
Right. Exactly. Tamara, thank you so much for your super sticker. We so appreciate you. And the same for you, Michelle. Thank you so much. You guys are great.
So Captain, the hill sucked. It is. Going back up is it's a little bit of a climb, but it's not. I don't know. It didn't cause too much problems.
Yeah. No, Do you want me to play the video of the rest of the video of it?
I would like for you to go back to. Well, we'll talk about after going there, what I think where BG came from.
Okay.
I think there were another thing that I didn't mention was, and you might show one of the photos of the blue dots, the blue flags. Law enforcement placed blue flags. Okay, this is what Julie was telling me. Like I said, she's been involved from the beginning. Placed blue flags all the way up that path to the trail from where the girls were found. So there was something significant about that path, and I don't get why it hardly ever gets talked about.
It's hardly ever talked about. Exactly. And Tech Death asked the question of, was the path there back then? And I just wanted to address that yes, it was, because, and it was still easily identifiable because Anthony Greeno did a huge video on it, and it's still up on his True Crime Investigates channel. You can go see it. I believe, and Hoosier, you're in here. Hoosier Cold Case. Can you tell me if I'm remembering wrong? But doesn't your boots on the ground videos? Didn't you go back there too when you did those videos because I swore that I saw you going down that same path as well. So yeah, it was back. It was definitely still there. I thought you were in that video. So yeah, Hoosier was in that video with Greeno, I think.
Oh,
So
that's right. That's
so
right.
they did it together, and that's what I kind of remembered. Um and I thought you used to have the video of you taking that same path. Yes. So Hoosier, real quick, what's your take on, since Captain had his, what is your take on that same path and getting down there? Did you feel the same that Skip does, that it wasn't that horrible? Greeno made him look like a Sasquatch. That's funny.
But there was a rumor that someone had stopped searchers, or had stopped I think Brad German from going over crossing the creek. Here, but that was the next day. And it was supposedly a fireman. But here's the thing: the easiest way to that spot where the girls were is this path.
Right.
There's no need to go across the bridge, go back across the creek. There's no need to come down off of Ron Logan's property, home, or the cemetery. This is literally the easiest way to get there.
So Hoosier says it was easy getting down, but my chubbiness has a hard time getting back up. He goes, it's steep. And he said, I had to hit my inhaler a few times.
Yeah. Well,
so
it is. I mean, no, it's a slope. There's no doubt. But getting down, like I said, was just, it took us no time to get down there. Let's put it this way. It's not so bad that wouldn't be one of the first places to look. It would be just so,
Yeah, right. Hoosier, thank you so much for that. And so eloquently said. We love you here, so no problems.
It was funny too, because I didn't see that until the second day. The first day I went out there by myself, and that was the day I walked across the bridge, and we timed everything just to kind of get a feel for it. And I was standing there at the bridge, I was looking across it, and I was kind of, imagining the girl standing there and what this guy was seeing. And it kind of dawned on me that if Libby had never taken any of those photos, no one would have ever known the girls crossed the bridge.
Right.
There would have been nothing. There was this thing about the shoe, but that could have been put over there at any time, and that wouldn't have. BG might have even thrown that over there to mislead people.
Thought about that too. That shoe was thrown across the creek. I thought of that as well.
But they were found on that side, so there would have been no reason for any. And so then when I saw the trail, or the path, it kind of just hit me. I was like, is this where the guy came from? It would certainly make sense, because once you get on the trails and you see that walk and everything, that's he was never on the trail. There's no way. So he came from somewhere. And I think part of what made law enforcement realize he was local was one thing Carter said was that there are multiple access points to the bridge. And he was talking about that in context with bridge guy being local.
Sorry, guys.
And so I was like, well, then what told them he was local is the same thing that told them how he, and then putting that together with the blue flags that they put down, told me that path was significant for some reason, for sure.
Right. Hi, Sleuth. Good to see you. I just wanted to say, the captain said that getting down there was no issue. Getting out back to the trail was a problem. There were also different ways out if you weren't heading back to the trail. So he felt that there were other ways to leave. You wouldn't have to necessarily go back that way.
Well, when you're down, once you're down there in that bottom, it's really secluded. It kind of sits, the whole area kind of sits in a bowl. Every direction is uphill. It's uphill back to the trail. It's uphill to back up to Ron Logan. It's uphill once you get across the creek and up the hill. So it's uphill every way. But if he was trying to access his vehicle or wherever it was, it would make sense that he came in the way, he entered and exited the same way.
Right.
So, if he, and plus, another thing that kind of dawned on me was, one of the biggest questions is, why did they cross the creek? I think it's possible that he tried to intercept the girls before they got to the bridge. He either didn't make it on time or aborted it for another reason, and then followed them on the bridge. The photo that you showed, I said, hey, hold on, stay there. That's actually, there's a plateau right there off that path that provides a perfect viewing spot all the way across the bridge. And when you see the photo at 2:07, and then we know that he's with the girls at 2:13, and I timed how long it took to get across the bridge. It took me 5 minutes and 25 seconds to get all the way across, hands in my pockets, walking across it. So he would have had to have been right there before, when that photograph, the 2:07 image was taken, and then step onto the path and what started going across.
Right.
And I think the reason that they crossed the creek is simple. He was just trying to get back to where he came from. People, they ran. I think BG was just trying to get back exactly from where he originated. And I think he originated up there on that property.
Is this the one you're talking about?
No, that's the one that where the video where it turns to. It's not a great shot of it, but the plateau sits right up to the right, just to the right here. If you're looking
so
down,
it's the video that you want me to show.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah, right there. You can't really see it great, but in wintertime, you can look right. There's a plateau that sits and drops off the water from there. It's a perfect viewing spot of the bridge. And if there's
no leaves on the trees, if you're standing here on this path, you can actually see everything that's happening from the bridge.
Yeah, you can't even with the leaves, but you really could. Plus, there's large enough trees there where you could stay hidden and be able to view what was going on. And if he didn't come down the trail, which the 501, which I don't think he did, the place that makes sense would be coming up that path.
Right. Well, that makes sense. Did you want me to play this video?
We can in a second.
Okay. You just let me know when.
No, go ahead. You can go ahead. Yeah. I'll just kind of talk over it.
You're going to walk the worn path first. You're not going to go.
Anyway, this was we were out there. It was Saturday, Memorial Day weekend, and another thing that was interesting was there was honestly, we were the only two people out there on a Saturday from, I don't know, we were probably out there from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock even maybe. Didn't see anybody. We were the only two people out there. I'm not saying anybody's lying if they said there were 50 to 70 people out there that day, but
right.
I kind of find that hard to believe.
I do too, because it's not that big of a place. And I mean, I'm going to stop this just for a second. I've seen the Randy Gravett videos where he's made for the walks for the girls, where people all go out there and meet him and go on these memorial walks that he's done every year. And when you get even 25 or 30 people out there on that trail, that's a lot of people. And if you're talking 50 to 70, even if they were spread out, people would notice that.
Right, they would.
Because it's not that big a place.
Yeah, again, it's one of the questions is, there's an image taken at 2:07, and then bridge guys it's on the girls at 2:07, and the bridge guys on the girls at 2:13, and it takes 5.5 minutes to get across. Where was he when that 2:07 image was taken? He couldn't be standing behind a tree like that right there. That's right there at that viewing area. A tree like that, he could be standing behind, and you wouldn't see him, and but he would still have a perfect view of where the girls were.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I think I've heard somebody say that before, that he could have actually been somewhere off in the woods where you're standing. But my question, because I think somebody had mentioned, is there a deer stand on that end? I know there is on the other end, but isn't there a deer stand somewhere around where you're at? Or did you not see one? I think there used to be.
There used to be one a little further down to the left. Yeah, there was. It's not there anymore.
Okay. Because I thought somebody, and maybe it was Hoosier when they were out there, said that there was a deer stand at some point, which makes sense because I really do feel that that's a deer trail. I believe that's what probably it started as, but it looks like people have used it as well because it's pretty well compacted and it's kind of wide. I mean, actually, for it to just be a deer trail, but looks like people have used it a lot before.
I would think that
there's two of them. There's two deer stands out there, you guys, not just one. But yeah, there was one out there. SP74 said the deer stand was closer to the crime scene.
It was, yes, we'll put it down.
So, did you want me to play the rest of this video, or do you want to go on to something else?
You can go on to something else. You can show, if you want to show, I'm trying to remember exactly what photos I sent you. But that was like that right there is a great view of just how wide, how used.
Yeah, that shows how wide it is.
Yeah. Locals would know. Locals that area would know that path well.
Oh, yeah. I believe I'm 100% positive, just because of me living in the Midwest and I'm only a couple hours from Delphi, that this would be an absolute wonderful place to go searching for mushrooms and hunting mushrooms and morels. And I guarantee you that there's people that's been out there doing that off of that path right there.
Oh, there's no question. Yeah, absolutely.
So
I know that's pretty big in that area. So not being from the Midwest, but I know that's
it's huge. Yeah, the morel mushrooms are huge, and you can make a lot of money off of them as well. So I don't like them, but some people do. But yeah, sorry, I'm still trying to get adjusted to this magic mouse of apples. And boy, let me tell you, it's a gesturing mouse, and if you ever touch it the wrong way, that's what happened earlier, and I knocked myself completely out of the live stream. So
somebody's asking you to zoom in a little bit.
Somebody's asking me to zoom in on what?
That photo. They just want to see that path better, I guess. It's like that all the way down. I mean, it goes all the way down, right down to where the flat area where the girls were found.
Yeah.
So, I think the takeaway probably was that it's somebody familiar with that area. Has to be. There's just no way. I mean, and why the girls weren't found that night, obviously I'm not trying to, blame anybody, but somebody would have looked there. I mean, they just definitely would have. And plus, after the girls were found, there would have had to have been a debriefing with law enforcement, right? Asking, did anybody search that area the day before? What was that answer? Because it's an obvious place to search. So what was the answer? What did they tell them when somebody asked, hey, who searched that area last night?
Yeah, exactly. Well,
There's no
yeah,
way
I mean, I do not feel that place was searched. There's no way that path was searched. If they searched that path fully and walked it like you guys did, all of you, Hoosier, you, all of you, the captain, you all would have found them. You would have walked right into them, right upon them. And so for whatever reason that's never been addressed, no one talks about it, no one makes videos about it. The girls were never found that night. Right. I've always felt that was a big difference, or a big part of what could be going on with this case. I just didn't feel that we've ever had that answered. Law enforcement certainly has never addressed it. And we know we had law enforcement supposedly keeping track of that location because overnight after they suspended the search. So like I said, I just don't understand why it was never discovered.
Yeah, Perry and I talked a little bit about it. I asked him about once they were found, how much law enforcement would have talked to the searchers and discussed that. And of course, he said, yeah, absolutely, that should have happened, and there should have been, some accountability about they wanted to find out who was there and who looked and why they didn't find them and all that. Unfortunately, we don't always get the answers that we want.
No, and I think that's part of it too, is that some people will move away from things if they don't like the answer they're hearing. They just completely disregard it. They just completely disregard the information. And they're just like, well, that doesn't matter then, because it doesn't fit into their story or their narrative.
Exactly. So
I think we've seen a lot of that in this case over the years.
Yes, still seeing a lot of it, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, we're still seeing a lot of it for sure.
But
sure,
that was the biggest thing. That was the thing that kind of was the biggest eye opener for me, of something that I just didn't know anything about. And like I said, I didn't really have an opinion about whether the girls were found or not and all that kind of stuff, just because I didn't know the area and I didn't know how accessible it was and all that. But once I saw it, I was like, this is crazy. I mean, this is absolutely nuts. They weren't found that night. And
right.
And you're saying the first people that were trying to get to that area are doing it by crossing the creek? You just walk down the path.
Just go to the path. You don't have to cross the You don't have to cross the
Right.
You don't have to cross the creek.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anonymous. You were very nice. We try to run a classy show. Sometimes it's difficult. I know there was a little bit of back and forth going on in the chat, you guys, and I did time someone out. We don't call other people names in this chat, so that's why I timed you out. So when you come back, please be respectful. Where did you want to move on to next? What other photos did you want me to show?
Well, we could go back to the showing the photos there of the CPS or the Freedom Bridge, the two photos of the retaining wall.
Yep. Hold on 1 second while I get them pulled up. I thought these were interesting photographs, actually. Both of them are really telling.
There's some things you can't see, like on Google Earth. If you're looking at an area and you're looking down.
Oh, yeah. Makes it hard sometimes.
There's two retaining walls. Okay, that's the first one. That's looking back at what you're looking at is the looking back toward the Freedom Bridge Plaza.
Okay. Freedom Bridge is back here, correct?
Yeah,
Freedom Bridge is back here.
Back
And
here,
so
and the plaza's
this
up
is,
on top.
you have to actually, to get to the trails, you have to turn here and cut right here.
Yeah, go
And
to
you
the
turn, cross the road, and you have to come back around this direction.
Yeah, go to the next photo and it'll explain it better. Or if you can't put them both up, can you?
I can. I didn't do that. I should have, but I didn't. Doggone it. So I know there it is. So
Okay.
this is the,
Yeah, this would be
This-
looking back toward the CPS building would be there to your left, up on top of that hill right there.
right in here.
Right. And one thing Google Earth doesn't show you is this is the retaining wall. Okay. You don't really know what is there and how close that is. That's just a couple of feet from that retaining wall to the Highway 25, the Hoosier Heartland Highway, where the hitchhiker was seen.
Yep. The hitchhiker with possibly a bag,
Right.
a blue duffel bag.
He would have had to have walked right along there in between the retaining. That's why the retaining wall part's important, because otherwise he would have had to have. There's fencing and everything. He couldn't have gotten up on that hill, gone over to the plaza, and walked down the other, or coming from that way, coming, up the hill and then back down this one, back over to there, coming out of those woods right there.
Right here.
He would have to walk right along the road.
Right along here.
Yeah.
If he came out of the woods here.
Correct. Somebody walking along to get toward the CPS building would have to walk right along the road there. And I know at one time we discussed the
hitchhiker. We did.
About it being mistaken and possibly being BG and
on all of that, because at one time that they did that, they put out a bolo for keep an eye out on anybody who saw a hitchhiker or someone, if anybody saw a bag, a duffel bag left alongside the road somewhere.
Right. Yeah, and so the old CPS building would sit right up there, and then that's Anderson's behind it.
Yeah, Anderson's is.
Yeah, it may have had a camera or not. I don't know. But anybody driving along the road there would have seen somebody walking. And if you saw somebody walking with a duffel bag over their shoulder, you'd think they were a hitchhiker.
Exactly.
So,
right.
It's possible.
I mean, yeah, you're not going to think anything of it, especially if he's out here. Darn it, I went the wrong direction. Especially if he's out here just walking along the road here. If you catch sight of him just walking along the road, you're just thinking, yeah, he's a hitchhiker or he's a guy who's, walking somewhere. You're not, I don't think it's, I don't know why it keeps doing that. It's not something you're going to question, I don't think, as a person who's driving along or may have seen it.
This is all based on what law enforcement said, that a vehicle at the CPS building is relevant to the case. If it's not, then it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We can only go by what we've been told. And a vehicle at the CPS building, we've been told, is relevant to the case. They
exactly.
Want to know. So, if Bridge Guy parked there, and again, Carter has mentioned multiple access areas to the bridge, and something told that there were three new things at the 2019 press conference, right? The sketch,
yes,
the vehicle, and that he was local, right? So
yes,
if you put those three things together, what told him he was local? Something about access in the CPS building, and so I don't think it's too big of a leap to say that what told him is local is the fact that the guy entered and exited an area that only a local would know.
Exactly. I think that is what I've always felt law enforcement was trying to convey to us from this beginning of the case, when they kept alluding to the fact that Bridge Guy was a local. And what they meant by that is they didn't mean that he necessarily lives in Delphi, Indiana. They meant that this person is aware of this trail system, has been on this trail system, has been in those woods, has been on that bridge, whether it be when they were young, whether it be whatever. That person is very familiar with that topography.
Right.
They've been in those woods. They've been on that trail. They've been there. And they've been there enough that they felt very, very comfortable. And so I think that's what they were trying to get across to us, is that, yeah, that person's local, and that's in that fashion.
Right. And I think that the change, that obviously a lot of the early stuff ended up probably being wrong. Somebody being, the old guy sketch being seen entering the Freedom Bridge and leaving the Freedom Bridge.
Oh yeah, I don't believe that.
Yeah. So we had to.
And I also wonder, Skip, and you may be able to address this, I don't know, but I was talking to someone else about this the other day. I know you came into the case later, but you've examined the case from day one. So I know that you know the case from the front to the back, but law enforcement has never told us, hey, Candace, thank you so much for your super sticker. It's very nice of you. Law enforcement has never told us about any eyewitnesses to this crime. They have never talked to us about eyewitnesses to anything that day. We've heard things through the family. Becky Patty gave us a timeline, basically, by telling us when the girls were dropped off, what was transpiring that day, when Derek showed up, all of that information. And then we heard from other people about who might have been there, who was seen, and you well know all of that. But those things, and the fact that there was a 16-year-old girl that saw Bridge Guy at the Freedom Bridge entrance, blah, blah. Who started those particular rumors? And how did those rumors become fact to the timeline?
I actually did a pretty deep look into all the circumstances that surrounded the old Bridge Guy sketch. I don't think any of it's right, and I think it was basically controlled by one person who had the public's ear and eyes through social media. And I'm not saying this person did this in a nefarious manner, but he was being fed some information that was incorrect about witnesses, when they came forward, what they saw, times, all of that. And so the narrative it created a false narrative about the first 18 months of the investigation to the public. And it's amazing to look back on it and think that could come from one source, but it did, and it's too bad.
Do you believe that that this source? Because I agree with you. I do believe that this narrative that we've all believed over time to be true isn't, and I don't believe that most of what we know, except for what was told to us by Becky Patty, is true. I don't believe that anyone saw Bridge Guy that day. In my mind, I don't believe we have a witness to who Bridge Guy was. That's just me. But I do think things were seen. I do think that somebody saw something, and whether it be a hitchhiker or whether they saw somebody walking along a road with a duffel bag or whatever it was, I do believe somebody saw someone, but not a way to describe them or to be able to pick them out of a photo lineup.
Yeah, there's a gal who's on Reddit, created this incredible sketch matrix, this spreadsheet, and gave all of the dates, everything that was relevant happened. You know, when it was released, when they talked, anything that was talked about the sketches, um, and it's probably the best piece of data I've seen anybody come up with in the case, because not only does it tell you all those dates and times and everything, but it creates a storyline for you, and it shows you what law enforcement was kind of thinking at the time. It shows you how quickly the old bridge guy sketch was ditched. And I think most people don't realize that is how quickly law enforcement got rid of it. And that was another eye opener from a standpoint of, all of that stuff that we thought was true in the first 18 months of the case, just it wasn't, just because it was being controlled by one or two people, and they were giving out bad information for whatever reason, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, and I've heard proof of one local in particularly who is steering the narrative in such a wrong way, that steering such a false negative or narrative that it's crazy. I mean, and his comments were the basis of kind of all how that whole, like I said, the first 18 months of the case, and none of it's right. So, it's sad that something like that happened, but it did, and so I think it's one of the reasons the case has been set back so far. But it's just too bad that went down like that.
Right. And so I think that we can surmise, obviously, from what happened in 2019 after the Georgia Bureau of Investigation went back over this case. They certainly put new eyes on it and saw some of the things that happened that maybe shouldn't have happened or were overlooked or whatever we want to say. I'm sure that at one point someday we'll figure out exactly what that was. But anyway, it got them on the right path, and got them looking in the direction that they should be looking at. And I think that, it's led us to where we are today, because I think there's just been so many different things said, and law enforcement, and this, Doug Carter has come out as the head of the ISP. He's the top man over the case in Indiana. And we've been led to believe that he is definitely calling the shots because of recent developments in the case. But I'm going to say this about Doug Carter. He told us many different times, in many different ways, about this case, and in the way he spoke, he confused people, because he told people that no one ever saw Bridge Guy. There were no witnesses. He told people that Bridge Guy was never seen on the trails that day, digital. And he said that on the Megyn Kelly show. And then people come back and they dissect what he says, and they take those words apart and they absolutely dissect them, and they don't like the narrative of what he's saying. So they're like, well, he misspoke, or he did this, or he did that. And I know from talking to all the law enforcement that I've talked to, and you're close to law enforcement, we know that when these guys speak publicly on these cases, that stuff is methodically planned out. They don't just talk off the cuff. They actually sit down and say, okay, at a press conference, this is what we're going to say. This is what you're supposed to say. That doesn't mean that somebody might make a mistake. and say something that they're not supposed to.
Right.
But these things are planned out and there is a strategy to them. So I
Yeah.
think everything he said has been strategic, even in the very beginning when they were messed up because they were looking in the wrong direction.
You know, one thing that I've learned from this is not only are law enforcement's words pretty measured and thought out, but law enforcement is extremely aware of public perception. Some law enforcement officers in particular, the elected ones. And so I think it's important to remember that whenever you listen to anything, you know, is they look, they know the kind of pressure that they're under. They understand the public perception of this case. They understand that they've been criticized a lot. So you have to remember all of that when you think about and listen to what they say, because that's a factor in it as well.
Right, for sure. So, you know, fast forwarding to current day and what's going on in the past few weeks with the Kleins and the stuff that the murder sheet's been putting out since you and I last spoke on the show, because there's been a lot. Let's talk about that just a little bit. What do you feel is going on with the first? Let's do this. The document that came out first, there was a document found on My Case, Indiana, that showed that Kagan's attorney had asked the court to postpone his pretrial conference because they were in negotiations. Let's just get that out of the way. Okay. What do you think could be going on there when we were told by the murder sheet in July that Doug Carter flew on a helicopter to Peru to meet with the prosecutor to tell them no plea deals in this case?
God, I don't really know where to start with that.
Take your time. Take your time.
It's irresponsible as hell for the murder sheet to do that, to put that and make that public.
Say it again. I want you to say it so everybody hears it.
It's irresponsible as hell for them to do that. They put the Miami County prosecutor in an incredibly bad spot. And that's the second time the ISP's done that. First time was when they released the bulletin about Anthony's shots, and they were forced to come back out with a clarification stating that as soon as the Miami County prosecutor got the case, he indicted Klein. And they kind of half-assed, said that they messed up. Oh well, nobody did anything intentionally wrong. And then then the murder sheet comes out and says Carter's helicoptering down to Peru to talk to the Miami County prosecutor and tell him there's not going to be any plea deal, right?
Right.
Well, I'm sure Doug Carter doesn't want somebody coming in his office telling him how the hell to do his job, right?
Exactly.
97% of all criminal cases end up in a plea. So if Jeff Sinkovich in Peru, Indiana ends up with a plea deal with Kegan Klein, how's that going to look? Now that they've got that out there, it's going to make Carter's going to look like the big hero because, he was down there demanding. He was pounding on desk, hey, by God, this is not going to get a plea. And all Jeff's doing is doing his job. But public perception is going to be, well, he was soft on it. He was soft on a perv, somebody.
Exactly, because for me, well, even if that did happen, even if Doug Carter, because we know that these cases get political, and even if Doug Carter went to talk to the prosecutor in this fashion and make that statement, you're right, that did not need to be divulged. That is putting, in my opinion, that is just throwing, I don't know how to put it, and be nice about it, because it makes me so angry. But I'm just like, you're right. It throws Jeff under the prosecutor under the bus.
Yep.
In the public eye.
Yep.
And I mean, you can say all the things that you want to say about Doug Carter, but he's professional. And so I don't see him wanting that out in the public. I absolutely do not think, if that heated conversation or whatever it may have been between them happened, it was, to me, completely irresponsible reporting on the murder sheet's behalf to bring that out. There was no purpose in it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think from what I know is the Miami County prosecutor, I don't think he's ever lost a case. So he's doing a pretty good job. I don't think he really needs any tips on how to do it. And
exactly.
Then, and then so now the public perception is going to be, well, Carter said, he demanded that, and then the Miami County prosecutor just, he caved in.
Exactly.
And 97% of all cases end up in a plea. So he's just
exactly. And so, and so if they put
money, the taxpayer money.
And it does, and you're right. And all of those things come into play when we're looking at these cases. And I guarantee you, no plea deal is going to happen in the Delphi case without Anna and without Becky and Mike's input into this, and Carrie's input into this. They're going to talk to the families and say, how do you feel about us giving a plea deal or offering one? They're not going to do that without family input. That is going to look very, very bad on them if they would do that without.
Yeah, well, in the Delphi case, if there's ever any charges, that absolutely. But with Klein's current charges being in Miami County, I mean,
yeah,
prosecutor knows the case better than anybody else. No,
exactly. That's why they turn them over to prosecutors, and they don't let the ISP be the ones to handle the case. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of like, I guess that my stance on this whole thing right now, with every little tidbit of information that the murder sheet seems to acquire, they feel the need to come out and tell everybody. And
here's my problem with it, and I usually don't criticize, but all the stuff that's been coming out from them has been tilted completely one way. I mean, the last few things that have hit, have been everything's been ISPs and everything great. FBI screwed up at everything. It's all been FBI screwed up. They screwed up by what was the guy, the agent that was Ramsey. Ramsey was the guy who said the clients didn't have anything to do with it. The
FBI agent Ramsey. Yeah.
They screwed up that. They screwed up the part about the client's alibi. They of course, this is, again, we're dealing with speculation here, that they just believed Klein's alibi in Las Vegas. They got tunnel vision on Ron Logan, so they screwed up there. They lost this video at Marathon gas station. They screwed up there. Why is somebody putting out a narrative that the FBI is at fault for all this stuff? It's screwed up. Does that help the case?
It doesn't. And unsolved crimes, Allie just said it perfectly. Allie just said it. This is an ongoing active case. This is an ongoing active murder case. This isn't a game. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again, and I'll get hate for it, but my shoulders are broad. I can handle it. This isn't a game of Clue. This isn't somebody reading a book and trying to write the ending. This is a real, true case with real deceased children, families that are broken and hurting. And I'm sorry, but playing around with information and trying to throw stuff out there to make it seem one way or the other is beyond me. And I know we've talked, privately about what our thoughts on why that might be or who might be doing that, but there makes no sense to me why, what good it does to talk about who may have um, lost lost some pertinent evidence or whatever. How do they know it's pertinent evidence? Yeah,
Yeah.
sure,
Well,
you wouldn't want to lose that, but you don't know for a fact what was on it. And to come out and make it or imply, because what they did was they implied that the footage from the Marathon gas station actually had Kagan on it, or Tony on it, and they implied that. They made that, by how they presented that information on their podcast. They made it seem like the FBI was responsible for getting rid of footage or losing footage that showed those two men at that gas station that day. And
exactly.
that is not at all what happened. We
No.
have no way of knowing what was on that footage, if anything.
There may not have
And
been anything. And they did the same thing with coming out and saying, well, we know the real reason that Kagan wasn't arrested for 3 years, and when you find out, the public's going to be mad, right?
public's already mad. They don't need to find out. They're already mad.
They issued a statement that where they half-ass admitted they were, they kind of messed up. People make mistakes. Nobody did it intentionally. But now they're putting out a narrative of, well, we know the real reason, but then they're not giving you anything of substance after that, right? Not telling you exactly, because they can put out the insinuation, just like the video. There's something else going on. It really wasn't ISP's fault. And when you continue to do that, when you continue to steer a narrative to one side, it becomes not about reporting anymore. It becomes about an agenda. And to me, that's what it seems like they're doing. That they're, why discredit? Completely trying to discredit one form of law, like a law enforcement agency, the most
right.
The biggest, most powerful one in the world. Why would
yeah, and that's what gets me, because I know there's an onslaught. We don't want to get into politics here for sure. I know I don't, but we know that there's an onslaught against the FBI right now. it's in the media. It's everywhere. People are talking about how corrupt the FBI is and whatever. And I guarantee you that 98.9%, if maybe higher, of the people who join the FBI for an upstanding purpose. And it is not to be, it's not to not uphold the law and deal with criminals in a fair and just fashion. It's just not. And that doesn't mean, we've talked about this on this channel many times, we can apply that to any profession. There are bad apples in any profession out there. It doesn't matter who or what we're looking at. And so for them to just blatantly say that, the FBI is a screw up, we all know that is not true. Yeah, they are the best law enforcement agency in the world. They have some of the most fabulous techniques that they have gleaned and honed to teach other law enforcement agencies on how to do investigations. And we're talking about old type investigating, boots on the ground, knocking on doors, canvassing, things to look for, things to ask, not just the technological advances that they've made over the years as well. So yeah, I have a problem with it. With that narrative that they threw out there.
This isn't even about whether ISP is good or FBI. This is about a narrative being created by a podcast.
Yes.
That's all it's about.
Exactly.
And it's all about, it's all Doug Carter's in a helicopter. He's going down there, pounding on Jeff Sinkovic's desk and demanding this and hero type stuff and at the same time, the FBI can't get out of their way because they're a bunch of idiots. They can't even keep a video. I mean, that kind of stuff over and over again starts looking a little sketchy.
Suspect.
Yeah.
As to what they're doing here. And I feel the same way about the same podcast that they dropped about the search going on in the Wabash River. If you listen to that podcast, they talk about how they got this fantastic tip from someone they absolutely trust, and they ran out of their house and jumped into their car. I mean, it sounds like you're watching a Hollywood movie.
Yep.
I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, really? Are you kidding me? And so I'm just like, I know, like I said, I know I'm going to tick people off because there's so many people that just love them and can't wait to hear what they have to say. And I'm not saying that I don't listen to what they have to say, but I'm really unhappy with what I feel is being very unprofessional in what they're doing.
Well, it's not even about who their person of interest is or anything like that. That's beside the point. It's the message they're sending out.
Yep, it's the manner in which they're disseminating their information. And what's hilarious is I can't tell you how many emails I have sitting here in my inbox of, did you see the murder sheet today? Did you hear the murder sheets dropped today on Talking with Kagan? And I want to say, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I did hear it. I listened to it before I came on here. And I'm telling you what, they're talking about integrity in journalism and how they don't take money for interviews and all of this other stuff. And I'm just sitting here sick at my stomach.
Yeah. I mean, that's none of this is a shot at the ISP or Carroll County or taking up for the FBI. Because I'm not, we're saying that the narrative that's being put out is not fair. It's not being done in a just manner. It's a one-sided concerted effort. And I don't understand why people can't see that. It's pretty obvious. One side's doing everything great, and the other in the podcast and the other side's screwing up. And the insinuation is what is the problem, because it's like, yeah, they lost this video, and just between me and you, it probably was the key to the case. So if it doesn't get solved, don't blame us.
Don't blame us. Blame the FBI. Exactly.
And vote for me in my next election.
And vote for me for governor or whatever. I don't know. I'm just like, at this point in time, I just think that I've been saying it for a long, long time. I'm going to continue to say it. It's kind of my mantra, but we really have to be careful in how we cover and tell these stories. And we want to keep coverage on them, but we don't want to create our own narratives. We want to keep it fact-based. We want to talk about the facts. We don't want to embellish things. And we certainly don't want to talk about things that are ongoing evidence in a murder trial. And I think they're walking a really fine line with some of the stuff that they've been up to. And I know they've told us, oh, we know so much, but we're not going to, there's a lot we haven't revealed. Well, guess what? There's a lot of us out there that know things that we haven't revealed. Yep. And, that's the point. That's where it's at. It's called integrity. And you can learn a lot of things as being creators and investigators under the muck of this case, and learn all kinds of stuff. But it doesn't mean you have to create a podcast about it episode, or that you have to put it out there.
Right. Exactly.
And that's what bothers me.
Well, it's nothing personal against either one of them. I know them a little bit. And I know people say, oh, he's just trying to get back because they attacked him. It doesn't have anything to do with it. I've had conversations with him since where things have been fine. I just I don't see what they're putting out as being balanced. I mean, it seems to be steered toward one way. I mean, it's like I again, if they get, why is it important to discredit the FBI? Why is it important to state that they made these mistakes? And then when you say, well, ISP made a mistake and they let Kagan Klein walk around for 3 years. Well, if you knew the real reason, you'd be mad. Stop.
Everybody's mad. They don't care what the reason is. They don't see why you could let this person walk around for 3 years. Even if we don't know the reason, everybody's mad. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And again, to me, that's just dangling a carrot. We know something you don't know, and boy, once you know it, it's going to really, really upset you.
It wasn't really their fault. I can't really explain why it wasn't, but you'd be mad.
What's the purpose of that? It's kind of like, we've got this great, how do I want to say it? We've got this great interrogation, and it's just amazing, you guys. It tells us all this stuff, and we're going to drop it to you, and we're going to let you know about it, but it's going to take us 4 episodes to do it. And it's just kind of like things like that. It's like, come on. I mean, you do have to speak to that. You just do at some point. And somebody just in here just said something about, it's like they're steering everyone away from talking to Kagan, because he's going to take advantage of them or whatever, even though they've admitted that they've tried to talk to Kagan. So, I mean, it's, I'm sorry, but that's kind of little calling the kettle black, because, if you're doing it, why are you telling everyone else not to do it? It just doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. And, they were talking about people doing things for views, and they're not like that. I'm beginning to wonder. I know them too. I interviewed them. I really think that they're good people. I pray to God that they're not going to do anything so foolish that they end up getting this case hurt in some fashion. That's, I think, what I'm most worried about. And the fact that, like you said, what's the purpose of why they keep pushing this narrative that the ISP is done all these great things and the FBI is the screw up? Are they getting ready to drop the ball and say this case isn't going to be solved and it's the FBI's fault? I mean, what?
Does that surprise you?
I mean, here I am sitting here going, well, that's not what Doug Carter has told us. So why are you putting that out there? And somebody has asked, and we're going to get to these questions here real soon, but somebody asked about that as to who is the murder sheet's source or sources. Wouldn't that be nice to know? Because between you and me, I don't know.
Where one of them is, where one of them's from.
I'm sorry?
I said it's pretty obvious where somebody's from. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. They don't even the FBI.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, the case has become very public for a reason.
Yeah.
It went 5.5 years. Nothing. Quiet. Zero. Now all of a sudden it's being played out in public.
I think people just started demanding. I mean, we've talked about it before. When you have a vacuum of information, an absolute nothing's coming out, a vacuum and lack of information, people and the public are going to start filling it. They're going to fill it any way they possibly can.
There still has to be
and a lot of people have said, well, this is law enforcement speaking to them, and they're the ones telling them to do all this. Then you have to ask yourself, what's the benefit of that?
Public perception.
And when you say public perception, will you explain that just a little bit better? for those
Well,
who might not understand what you're speaking to?
Law enforcement's aware of the public perception in this case. They know that. They know that. We know that Doug Carter's not going to be at ISP forever. We know that there's time limits on all of these people, and they understand that this case is they need this case solved.
Yep.
So
that's where the politicalness comes in to play, because you have a prosecutor who's on a time limit because they're voted in. You have a head of ISP who's only been appointed for certain number of whatever, and he's not going to be there. He's already told us that in 3 years he'll be done. So there's been talk that he wants to do something different in politics. So it's going to look really bad for those individuals if they have to exit their jobs without the case being solved.
Yeah, they do have the ability to kind of hang their hat on the largest CSAM bust in Indiana history. You hear that a lot, and that's fine. That's good. You should be proud of that.
Yeah,
but be proud of it in lieu of solving this case.
No, exactly. I mean, I'm proud that that's happened, and I'm glad that that's happened. But I'm still unhappy that we have two girls who were brutally murdered in Delphi, and 4 girls who were murdered in an house fire in Florida, and we have a total of 19 dead children in a 6-county area in this part of Indiana that are all unsolved.
Right.
That people don't want to talk about and don't want to admit to a problem. So they can hang their hat on that CSAM case all they want, but there's a heck of a lot more going on than just that. So what do you think about the search in the river? What do you think is going on?
I don't really know. I mean, I obviously they're. I mean, they're. I'm not questioning what ISP thinks or what they're doing. You know what they're doing, or what their motives and methods are. But where did the information come from that that sent them on to look? You know, what are they looking for? What is it relating? There would have been some. There would have been some things that Kagan, if this information came from him, there would have been some things that he would have had to get over past for them to believe that he's telling them the truth. You know, he would have had to at least, I don't know whether it be, polygraph, passing that or providing them with information that only he would know or somebody involved. But then the problem with it is then rumors start up like, well, he's cut a deal for immunity. Well, a guy who's cut a deal for immunity is not going out and blabbing to podcasters and YouTubers that he'll tell a story for $100. Law enforcement didn't put a clause in that said, yeah, you're allowed to go blab about the case for money if you want to. If he had a deal, his mouth would be shut.
Exactly. Usually when they give someone, or even when they're in negotiations with someone for a plea deal, they are absolutely clear you are to talk to no one about this.
Yeah. But he's out hawking his story for money to YouTubers. Does that sound like somebody who's turned state evidence?
Somebody who is trying to get YouTubers to talk to him for money does not sound to me like somebody who's turned state's evidence. No. It sounds to me like somebody who's desperate, maybe because he's been cut off, and maybe because he doesn't have money coming in to do what he's been accustomed to for the last couple of years. It sounds like he has been talking to a number of different females out there. And, that's sad in itself. But it's sad that people put themselves in that position to be manipulated and taken advantage of. I feel bad about that. But yeah, no, I don't think that screams to someone who has cut a deal at all. And
So
the other thing I wanted to say about that too is the murder sheet's talking about the fact that Kagan's out here sexting with his chirp machine, with all of these women and taking advantage of them and all of this. And all I want to say is that there is absolutely nothing that happens in lockup on these machines that these inmates have that law enforcement doesn't know about.
Oh, they hear every word that's spoken.
They know every single text that's sent, every single text that comes in. They know every video chat. They're monitoring those. So when he sets up video visits with people and is talking to them and having videos, they know everything. There is no surprises.
Yep.
So if these people are out there doing those things with him, then law enforcement's aware of it. They know who you are. They know everything about you. Trust in that.
Yeah. So I mean, to answer your question, I don't know for sure what they're looking for, or how long they're going to be out there. Obviously, hope they find something, because if they don't, if they come out of there empty-handed, what happens then?
Right. And it makes me wonder, because some of the stuff that's come out too from these people who have been talking to him, that has filtered out and gotten onto social media, it makes me angry, because to me it's one of those things that says, hey, let's screw this case up even worse by putting out maybe information that absolutely shouldn't be on social media. And again, just because you have access to it doesn't mean you need to screenshot it and stick it out there.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why one of the reasons there's so much speculation is, and I get it. Everybody wants this solved. I mean, people are desperate for this case to get solved, so they want to believe things that lead toward that end. Unfortunately, that may not be what's reality, and at some point you have to kind of face the reality and realize that, hey, this is, because if you look at everything and you look what it's going to take to get a prosecution in this case, a double murder case, the thresholds that they'll have to get over as far as evidence goes, and what they don't seem to have, it's hard to be really optimistic. It really is. That's sad that it's got.
Well, we've talked about that over all the years, about how the hope ebbs and flows in this case.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that that's the truth, because I think that in December, people had a lot of hope that maybe they were onto something that was really, whatever. And then when, like I said, when things go kind of silent and you're not having a lot of movement, and in my opinion, we don't have a lot of movement from law enforcement. They tell us so little. The movement comes from within the community of social media. That's who's moving this case. That's who's moving this stuff all around for whatever the reason.
What would be the worst end for me would be law enforcement realizes they'll never get a prosecution, but they point fingers hard enough at somebody to where they make the public think that they got their guy, but we just didn't have enough evidence, or FBI screwed up enough, or whatever the reason was, we didn't get this solved. And then divert the attention over to, but we did get it as the largest CSAM bust in Indiana history. That would be the worst, because that would be, I'd lose faith in a lot of people.
I would too, and I've talked a lot about that with my moderators. One of the things that I think that I'm frightened of the most in this case is to have what happens sometimes in these small town parts of the USA where it's the good old boy network, and they find something that fits and they make it work.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that fit here with certain things with the Kleins, but I hope they're not trying to make it work. I mean, I really hope that whatever's going on is that we get the real person who committed these horrific acts, because if we don't, then we've just let this person go to do it again. And I do believe that this person watches. I believe that they're sitting there probably tonight watching just to see what is being spoke of about them. And they feel they got away with this. And they're going to continue to feel that way as time presses on. I really do believe that the ISP thinks that they're going to find something in that river. They've been in that river for 2 solid weeks, and somebody gave them information on something. And the more and more I think about it, Skip, I don't think it was the Kleins.
Well, I hope. I mean, it.
Wouldn't that be something?
It would be something.
If it wasn't them that gave them the information of why they're looking.
Yeah, it would actually might provide some clarity for me, to be honest with you. I mean, really, if it was somebody else besides, maybe connected in some way a little bit, but somebody separate of them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I've been, like I said, I've been mulling that over in my brain for the last 10 days. And it's the first time I said it out loud was right now to all of you guys. But wouldn't that be something if what sent them to that river, it wasn't anything that Kagan said to them. It was something that somebody else said to them.
I think that's a good possibility, because, I mean, they would, for them to believe anything he says, right?
Right.
I mean, they're not going to just say, just because you don't believe somebody just because you like what they say, or law enforcement doesn't have the luxury of that, right?
Oh, no, they don't. No, exactly.
They can't go out and waste money and time and money and all that on a wild goose chase. They can't just, Kagan said that his dad threw a whatever over the side of the bridge. Let's go out here and get all this manpower and man hours and go find it. And then you walk out of there with nothing, and you look
really silly.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, I mean, I just feel like they wouldn't be spending all of these man hours and, digging around in this creek this river and all the things that they're doing if they didn't have a really good reason to believe that they're going to find something.
Right.
So that's just my take on that. And I'm no expert, and I could be completely wrong, and I own up to that. And I've always told all my subscribers and everybody who watches me, it's not about me being right or wrong. I don't care one way or the other. I just want the case solved. I want the right guy or guys to be caught.
Agreed.
So, that's how I feel. And I know that's how you feel.
Absolutely.
I do. I have no doubts in my mind that that's how you feel. So
that would be, and that's obviously that's what we all want in the end. But man, I just wish I had more optimism about.
I know it's hard not to lose it. I think we all go, like I said, I think we all go through that, but it's like I've said, and I've told you this before, I'm not ready to rip that hope rug out from underneath those families. I'm just not.
No, I agree.
So me, as who I am, I'm just going to always have that hope. And it may not happen this year, and it may not happen next year. It might not happen the year after that, but I do believe at some point this case will be solved. And I think it's one of those things, and I know people get mad at me, but I'm going to go back to Kristen Smart. They had her killer in their sights the weekend she went missing, 25 years later, and he is on trial for her murder, and they do not have her body.
It's amazing.
They have no murder weapon. They have no manner of death. I'm sorry. I just see it happening. That's just how I'm gonna. I want it so badly for Abby and Libby that I'm not going to give up.
There's nothing wrong with having hope. I mean, there really isn't.
I know.
Okay, Anne asked a question a second ago about it.
So we're going to go. I got a whole bunch of them here. We actually have 23 questions, so we need to get started on them so that we can get through them, because I know that it's late. So the first question I have is from Just Pam. Skip, did you go to the crime scene?
Yes, I'll answer Anne's question too. I saw she was asking.
Okay, go ahead.
Was it emotional? Kind of at the same time. I did go to the crime scene. We followed the path from the trail to the crime scene, and it was emotional, very emotional. It's a strange feeling when you're down there. It's the whole thing is because the anticipation and all that, the build up and all that. But when you get out there, it's actually kind of a strange calm about it. I don't know how to explain it exactly. But it's definitely emotional knowing that those little girls were right there, and somebody did what they did to them.
Yeah, exactly. Alicia asks, Skip, after being there, what are your thoughts on why they weren't found the first night?
Yeah, that was the one we went over.
Skip, did you get video footage? Yes, you did. It is not as secluded as you would think. Skip, were you surprised at how close everything feels out there?
I was. Yeah, I was. I was very surprised. Everything does feel real close. I was surprised at several things. I was surprised that the bridge is that people are even able to walk across it or walk out on it. There's ties missing, double ties missing, or you could fall through pretty easily. But I was surprised at the scale of it. Yeah, it really is. It was surprising how close everything is.
So the captain asked while he was here, what are your thoughts on the current events surrounding the case? Do you have a?
I mean, I'm hopeful. I'm just hopeful. I don't know enough about what they're looking for. I know that law enforcement has interest in the Kleins, apparently. The level of that interest has kind of been based off what the murder sheet has told us. So I'm interested to see what, if anything, is found and comes out of the river search for sure.
Agreed. Rosewood asks, what did Skip think about the bridge in terms of walking across it? Well, I think you just kind of answered that one, but were you afraid when you were out there on it? Come on, you can tell us.
Not really. Like I said, he kind of had a purpose, so maybe that was part of it that I, didn't really think about it because I was interested in seeing what. Like I said, I was out there by myself the first day, and I just kind of, I stood there and looked and kind of assessed everything and pictured the girl standing there and all that kind of stuff, and then just started walking on the right side of the bridge where he was and put my hands in my pocket and started walking and timed it just to see, because I wanted to compare that to the two images that we know, or the image and then what time BG was with the girls, but
right.
It took 5 minutes and 25 seconds at just kind of a normal pace. So
that's pretty fast, actually. Matt Mosley would like to know, Skip, did you cross the bridge and go to the other side down the hill, so to say?
Yes. Down onto the private drive.
Did you go all the way down over the other hill from the private drive to the creek, or no?
Yeah, no, didn't go all the way down to the creek from that side. just went all the way. They went down to the creek from the other side.
Okay. I just was curious if you went to that side or not.
No, and I tell you what, that really doesn't. The photographs don't really give it do it a lot of justice. It's ultra steep right there.
It is.
Yeah.
Anthony Greeno did a video of that steepness.
More than you would walk down it.
Yeah, he fell down it practically
Yeah.
when he was going down it. He just kind of slid. It was, yeah. Lulu wants to know, aren't both the Kleins too tall to be bridge guy?
According to the original height, weight description, physical description, but I don't know that how accurate any of that is.
Yeah, I don't know how accurate any of that is either. I'm not sure where that all came from. Again, we don't know where that came from, and now that they've removed it, I think that's a telltale sign that they're not as confident either.
Right.
So
I've never put a lot of stock in that.
Wow. Here's a question. I don't know. You can choose to answer this or not, but Skip, do you think Tony and Keegan Klein are behind the Delphi murders?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just have no idea.
CJK would like to know, does Skip have a new or a different POI? Not asking for a name or initials. If so, what made you change your mind?
I don't really even discuss POIs anymore, just because it just causes, I don't. So, and who gives a shit who's my POI anyway?
Exactly. I told you the reason it matters is because everybody loves you. So they all want to know what you think. Tech Death asks, was that cleared out line then as a trail? So I think we asked that before. He wanted to know if your path was there before. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Skip, do you think that they were possibly covered up with leaves and bushes?
I think based on the Ron Logan affidavit, the crime scene was staged. Now, whether that involved any covering up, I don't know. I think the bodies were possibly posed to mimic something, therefore being staged. Just not sure what that is.
Right. I don't think we'll know until they tell us. Tamara asks, Skip, is it easy from the cemetery? Is it easy from the cemetery to where the girls were found?
In terms of the terrain?
Yeah, of getting down to the girls from the cemetery. Is it easy, do you think?
It's pretty steep. The harder part would be getting back up.
Yeah. I've seen a couple of
direction. Like I said, it sits down kind of in a little bowl down there, and so on the creek bank. So it's basically kind of an old floodplain is that what the property is, and so it's really low, and so every direction's uphill. No matter which way you go, you're going uphill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Ron Logan took a couple of different reporters on that walk off of his property and down that steep hill to the bowl where the girls were found, and he made it down and up.
Yeah,
pretty easily, and he was in his 70s. I mean, this guy was,
Somebody asked my trespass.
What?
Savannah asked, did I trespass while I was there? I suppose technically I did, but I was with Julie, so she says she knows everybody, so I guess not.
Polygraph says, is that where Pat PB, we know who that is, Pat Brown had his truck parked?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. Tamara wants to know, what direction is the gas station Keegan Klein searched the 13th, and how far? I've heard it's 1.1 miles as the crow flies from the bridge to the gas station on Washington Street.
Yeah, you kind of go through town a little bit to get to it. There's actually, when you are going down Main Street, there's two gas stations across from each other right as you come into town. The Marathon, I believe, is just a couple of blocks in and down to the left.
So yeah, it's pretty close.
It wouldn't be the gas station you would meet somebody at if you were just meeting them in Delphi. It would be one of the two right there at when you first get into town, unless, yeah, I don't know, unless you had some other reason. But I mean, that it's not. But he was being given some information that was.
He's no longer with us, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So that would have been Doug Rice, I think. And I'm just going to say that.
Answer Ann's question. Yeah, I did, Ann. I had some very interesting conversation.
Not even Bridge Guy on the bridge. Of course, Bridge Guy was seen that day by the girls. I remember when that question was asked. Digital wants to know, wasn't the GBI unit did the peer review a special forensic technology unit? Anyone know for sure?
Don't know for sure.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. But wouldn't surprise me if they had one that's the one they would have sent.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me at all. Molly wants to know, I'm confused why Kagan is charged by the county and state for CSAM. I thought that was always a federal charge, housed at local jail prior to trial. Anyone know?
I don't know the legalities of it, so
I don't either, because we don't know where the CSAM is going and coming from. So if it crosses state lines, or if it's being on the internet, I would certainly think it's federal. I think that's why the FBI is involved. They are involved in his case.
If it crossed state lines, then it would get into federal. But I don't think it just the nature of the crime makes it federal.
Makes it a federal crime, makes it a federal offense, because of it being on the internet. Those servers could be bouncing everywhere. So, yeah.
And down, there could be something down. There could be charges in the future down for something else. Yeah, and they'd be federal charges. Who knows?
Oh, exactly. Most definitely. Let's see. Bees9 asked, does anyone else think the murder sheet source is law enforcement? Do you think that?
I think it has to be. It has to be somebody. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, I would think that there's somebody. If it's not somebody in law enforcement.
I mean, haven't they said they have a law enforcement source?
Yes, or someone close to.
They haven't said what branch or what agency.
No, they have not told us who or what agency or anything like that.
Right, but yes.
Lorraine asks, does anyone know if law enforcement is keeping guard on the area of the river that they were searching? So she wants to know if they're keeping somebody out there at night on that search. I do not know the answer to that. That would be something, I guess, to ask somebody that's local.
I would think they probably at a minimum have some cameras set up, even if they don't have any, security guards or something like that. I mean, they would want to know if anybody was nosing around out there.
And Matt asks, Skip, have you seen or heard any proof that Kagan or I don't know who AK is, was anywhere near Delphi on 2/13/17? Prosecution has to place them there somehow.
Agreed. No, I haven't heard any proof of that. And you and I were just talking about that yesterday.
Yes, we were. You have to be able to place them in those woods with the girls. Not even just near Delphi that day. You really have to be able to say that that the evidence points everything to them being in that woods with the girls.
Right. Yep. And with the lack of physical evidence that seems to be there and the lack of witnesses, the threshold for a conviction in a double murder is very high.
And especially in a double child murder, I would think.
You're not, it's not a manslaughter case. You know, circumstantial
Right.
evidence is going to be important, but you're going to need more than that. You're going to need.
Oh, thanks, Matt. Yeah, Anthony. Yeah, I call him Tony. Sorry.
Somebody's going to have to be at a minimum be put there.
Awesome. Well, Skip, it's 10 o'clock, and I know that you gave up 2 hours of your evening to be with us tonight. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we get ready to get out of here for tonight?
No, I appreciate the opportunity. I'm sorry we didn't get into it quicker. I'm sorry I kept putting you off, but you had more important guests to get to.
Oh, very funny. No, it's totally fine. I think it worked out great because with everything that is going on right now in the case and all the stuff that's, been happening, I think it was a good time for you to be here, is what I'm saying, with all that's going on in the case right now, or seems to be going on with the case.
I appreciate it. Fingers crossed, right? I mean, that's
right. We're going to keep it out there. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. I thank you for everything that you do, because you do a lot of stuff behind the scenes that nobody else knows. It's kind of like Gonzo and some of the other people that are kind of behind the scenes, and we all appreciate you guys.
You've wrecked
you mean you went out to Delphi and you videotaped and did some pictures and looked at things and were able to come back and help us better understand what it's like to be there, because I have subscribers all over the world and they don't know what that's like. So it's always nice to have that person be able to come here and do it, and you do it so well.
Well, there's so much information out there, that people say, well, that couldn't possibly have happened because of, but then when you go there, you realize that, that's just not the truth or something, so.
I think that you got tired of hearing me talk about why the girls weren't found that night. And I think that once you got there and you realized that, man, Kristen's onto something.
I don't know how anybody's ever going to convince me that they were missed that night. They're just.
Mm-hmm. I know, you and me both.
Nothing to do with any kind of conspiracy or any.
No, it's not a conspiracy. I don't think it's a conspiracy either. I just am like, what's going on? So yeah.
Any of that.
Yeah.
For some reason, they weren't found.
For some reason, they were not found. You're right. Well, I certainly appreciate you being here. Everybody else, I think, appreciates it. And we will let you go so that you can get a good night rest.
Yeah. Oh, good night to your audience. Thanks.
All right. Good night, Skip. Thank you for being here. Well, there you go, guys. Skip Jansen. Wasn't that a great one? It is always so good to have him here. I always feel like he brings just a really good perspective on this case, and he's so easy to talk to, and the people out there that are the naysayers against Skip, they all have him wrong. He's just really a good guy. And so I really appreciated him joining us. It's a lot for somebody to come and take 2 hours out of their night on a weeknight when they have to work tomorrow. That's always pretty big. I'm so happy that I had so many of you here watching and talking. You asked great questions. I appreciate you all. I will see you all on Saturday night. I do have a huge announcement coming, and I will be happy to give you guys all that information. Thank you so much again for coming. And I wanted to say, hey, True Crime Web, thank you so much. He is a really great guy. I will put you in contact with him if you have not talked to him, because he is a really great person. Thanks, guys, and good night, and we will talk to you guys later.